One of the issues that we're finding with the carnivore crowd is they're pointing out Inuits as, look, they can live off of this diet. It's like, because they live in sub-tundra conditions that nothing grows. And so what ended up happening was they had an evolutionary adaptation to eat seals and other things. And so it works for them. It's one of the reasons they don't get scurvy up there. They're eating the livers and everything like that too. But using them as an example of, everybody can be carnivore and it's going to be completely fine is kind of missing the mark, because you're not really understanding what's going on there. So if we realize that everybody's an omnivore and that things like the Mediterranean diet are probably a good base, if you don't know anything about how to set up your diet, modeling it after the Mediterranean diet is probably the safest thing. And that's because it's got everything that we've talked about.
I love that. Mainly because I'm super biased and that's the diet that I follow. But also because
I'm biased too, but I'm biased because of the research.
Yeah, exactly.
When we have all of this research that points out over and over and over again, if we have to pick a named diet, this is what it is. This includes, if you compare it to Nordic or carnivore or paleo or all of these others that typically take an erroneous stance from the beginning to push whatever they're trying to push.
Right.
I mean, that's the problem. And the lower quality levels in those research don't support changes quite as much. And I mean, even if you look at things like veganism, because I've just bashed on carnivore a lot, so I need to switch. So when people hear this other clip, I can get a whole other group mad at me. When you look at like veganism and things like that, and you compare it to a smart omnivore diet, there are higher levels of cancer. There are higher levels of mental disease and disorders. There's higher levels of sickness. And that's typically because of gaps in nutrients that come from veganism. Now, vegetarianism or pescatarianism, you can largely avoid these issues. But with rote veganism, you're missing out on a lot of things. I mean,
How would they rectify that?
Supplementation, unfortunately.
Okay.
But so this is the thing. Like, if you're going into veganism and you're doing it for health, you're doing it for the wrong reason. If you're going into veganism and you're doing it because it's a moral stance of yours, I can completely and utterly support you in that. If you understand that now that this is not the most optimal diet, you're going to have to be doing some things to close those gaps. I mean, you're not getting carnitine, you're getting B vitamin issues, you're getting iron issues, you're having issues with creatine, you're having issues with a whole host of other things because it's just not coming into your diet.
Makes total sense.
And so this is why we see hospitalizations are significantly higher in vegans than they are in a regular Mediterranean diet or smart omnivore diet.
That makes total
brittle
sense.
bones. I mean, all these other things that come into play. It's problematic. You're not getting enough protein. And this is an argument that people can have, right? Because you can certainly show me a vegan diet that's been set up to provide adequate amounts of protein. The reality is that the majority of them are not doing that because the majority of people are not eating seitan and tofu at every single meal because
beans and rice
right, they're eating beans and rice and peas and brown rice are a wonderful combination because they offset the amino acid issues that each one has, but they still come with massive amounts of carbs. And so if we want to hit proper protein amounts and we want to stay under our calorie allotments, that becomes a challenge.
Vegan protein powder, seitan, tofu can help a lot.
I mean, soy isolate is a wonderful choice for a protein powder for somebody that wants to stay vegan. I mean, it's just about up at like PDCAAs if we're looking at the amino acid spectrums and the quality of the amino acids. I mean, it's literally right there with whey. It's a fraction of a step below.
Interesting.
And there's no phytoestrogen concerns over those types of things.
Yeah.
Just to paint that out there, because that's always the next question is, well, what do I do about, turning into a woman? You're not going to. It's fine. Literally all of Asia would be
right. Exactly.
Would be problematic if that's the case. And so, there are ways around these types of things, but understanding where these pitfalls are can help people make the right choices for them. And if you say, hey, veganism is the right choice for me because I don't like what happens to animals, okay, that's great. Just don't pretend that it's healthier. Understand it's not healthier and that there are steps that you can do to make it as healthy. And part of those steps are probably going to require supplementation, and it's probably going to require you eating a small rotation of foods quite often if you don't want to massively go over those calorie allotments for a day.
That was all for Mitch. Mitch is vegan.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is it for moral reasons?
Yeah.
Okay, so good. We're on the same page there.
Yeah.
You've just pissed off Mitch. Your voice is going to sound like you had helium the entire time during this thing.